Follow your path here a bit in how we navigate the rest of this conversation with the I, we, and all.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to start with ourselves, because to get into a super loop, I think self-awareness is, well, I've said it tons on the show. It's everything. It is the relationship with yourself is the most important relationship we have in the
Yeah.
organization. How can you recognize you're in the super loop? How can you look at yourself going, I'm in it, good or bad? Maybe good, so you can reinforce these habits, or bad and try to derail yourself.
Yeah. It's a great question. And so many people ask me this, Russell, right? And what I say to them is this. When you look at areas that there are chronic complaints in your life, from your life partner, from your friends, potentially from your parents, from your employer, are they telling you all the time, you're really great at this, but this other thing, right? You're late all the time. You don't follow through when you say you're going to. Your significant other asks you to do something and they're frustrated with you chronically because you say you're going to do something and you're not. And you are going to have whatever excuses that you have around all of these things. But that is where that human behavior is giving you an opportunity with a red flag going, hey, right here, this is where you can do some work that's going to make a huge change in your life. What we do is we make excuses, we avoid it, we justify it, we get defensive, all the things that humans do. Really, and let me take it one cut deeper, which is we now have created this term that was typically used in the psychology and social worker field about triggers. Okay. And so now it's become layman's terms in the last 5 years, and that triggers me or you trigger me. And what we don't understand about triggers is triggers are actually a wonderful thing. It's your neurology telling you, there's something here for you where you could get better at it, but you're going to have to take a step back, do some self-reflection. Okay. Another really important executive function skill. I'm going to reflect on that. Why is it that bothers me? And I think you said you read the book. One of the stories that I share in there is about two coworkers that, Marguerite and Katie, and, Marguerite is Katie's supervisor. And this was a real thing that happened to me in one of my schools. And Marguerite was really, really harsh. She was tough to work for, but she was brilliant. Okay. And Katie came and wanted to be like, she's wrong. She shouldn't treat people like this. Da, 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 right. And I just stepped back. And one of our human vibes at G3 is, I'm never upset for the reason I think. Okay. And that principle correlates with what we want people to understand about triggers. That when you are heated at a way that is more elevated than the people around you, that is a great sign for you to go, this is here for me. This is learning from me, spiritually, emotionally, in my human relationship. And to go, why does that bother me so much? And in this situation with Marguerite and Katie, what bothered her so much was she realized that she had a third grade teacher that was really controlling and really abrasive, and that this person, her leader, Marguerite, was triggering that in her. And instead of like owning it and going, wow, like that is bothering me, and I need to think about that third grader that was overwhelmed by this controlling teacher and heal that, instead of projecting it on Marguerite and going, let's just fire her, and all of these things that we do. And so that cue of looking at places that are consistent themes coming up in our life, that's it. That's the place where you intersect your own Superloop work and say, I'm going to do this. I'm just going to practice it with this one thing. And what I tell people, I have journaled my entire life. Every single morning I get up and I journal. And when there's something going on that I'm particularly stressed about, once a month I will take time on a Saturday and give myself 3 hours, Russell. And I just go, all right, this thing, and this is what I'm interpreting from it. This is how it impacted me. And this is what I'm not going to do anymore. And it is your own work. You can do it by yourself. You can do it with a therapist. You can get a support group. There's all kinds of ways, but not doing it keeps us stuck.
I'm so glad you clarified some things people can do, because I know immediately any leaders like, I don't have the tools to do the self-reflection, to understand themselves well enough. They're too busy. And I'm using air quotes for anybody that can't see my fingers, because again, too busy is a thing that you're putting on yourself, or your culture is putting on yourself, and you're not providing boundaries to allow yourself the time to do these really important things. So I was really curious as to what you'd recommend that's sort of been the, I guess, move the needle for a lot of leaders who are giving you excuses for them not to do the work?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think the other salient point is, and my brother Jack Daly talks about this all the time. He has a few great books out there, Hyper Sales, and we all have the same 168 hours in the week, all of us, right? Whether it's Richard Branson, whether it's Brené Brown, we all have the same amount of time. And yes, there's some of us that have had environments and upbringings that give us more access to resources. It gives us more access to those experiences. But we are grown-ups now, and we can make different decisions. And so understanding that this gets to be as important as taking a shower and brushing my teeth. This is about emotional hygiene. And it really is. And owning that same responsibility that we have to our physical well-being. We call it mental health, Russell, which I think is such a ridiculous term, because we're doing it because emotions are funky and people don't like them. They're messy, they're complicated. You feel young, you feel like inadequate, but it is emotional well-being and emotional health. It's not mental. It's really not. But mentally, right? Yes, you've got to discipline yourself to organize and prioritize those things. But even in relationship, when we're doing supervisions within our teams, right? When you think about the team aspect of this work, the I is doing your own work. The teamwork is, let's say the unsaid, another term that we use at G3, because we are so conditioned in this society to not say what we're thinking. One, because we're not good at communicating, challenging conversations, and we get better at it. So we don't feel confident. And two, it's a lot of work. And I'd rather just come to the meeting, keep my mouth shut, and walk out of here so I can get work done. And so we are creating the environment that we don't want to be in anymore. And that doesn't work.
What would you say to those that may be blaming external factors? So for instance, I work a really stressful job. What it sounds like from a beliefs, biology, and behavior standpoint is it's all internal. But there are things outside of me that I can't control, which is a horrible boss or unrealistic expectations. So I have no control over that. And I know I have control over the Superloop, but that influences it. How do you respond to that?
Great question again. And because that is true. That is an absolute truth for everyone, right? That you cannot control what's out there. It can influence you, but it only controls you if you let it. So what we talk about in our coaching work, when we coach individuals, and at G3, we not only coach individuals, but we find it more important to coach teams collectively. So we do independent coaching, and then we do what we call on the field coaching, which is the entire team together. Because so often in the world of coaching, people commit to doing something individually, and then they show up the same way on their teams, because trying on something new is hard. And so what I say to them is, what could you do? Give me 3 actions that you could do that would empower you. You're trying to give yourself agency and empower yourself. Have you talked about it in a way that other person, that mean boss, that terrible boss, actually understands how they're impacting you? Have you done that? Well, I feel like I have, and enough people have, and there's all of this dancing around it. It's like, no. Have you done it? Have you dedicated the time to make sure that person understands? When you interrupt us in the middle of a meeting and you say, that's not what it is, and you cut, that is really discouraging to the whole team. I don't know if you're aware of it. And the B part of this, Russell, which is really important, okay? We are all human beings trying to make it through this world. And although your boss may be a lousy human at most of the time, they are still humans. And they are fighting a fight that you had no idea about. And could you give them a place to show up differently? Could you create an environment where they felt heard and seen and loved and supported? Because I promise you they don't. I promise you they don't. I work with them, right? They are fried out of their minds because of all the people that are reporting to them, and they're trying to do the best that they can. They don't know what else to do. And they just need someone to give them an opportunity to do that. You may be that person. And if you're not, at least you can say, I did everything I tried when you give your notice. And you learn something from that and take it with you. Because those are circumstances, Russell, and we all have those circumstances around us. We're in marriages that maybe that person does this thing all the time, right? This is the human condition that we live in. And so we get to figure out a way to move these things forward gently yet firmly.
I love the idea of empathy and compassion up. As much as leaders, we're responsible for our teams, accountable to our teams. But as I've certainly learned on the show very early on, leaders need leaders, And a lot of leaders have had no leadership development. They've just been
Right.
put as a bum in a seat to go,
Yeah.
now you're responsible. You have no
Yeah.
tools, but figure it out. And I've been in those situations with horrible bosses, and I paint them this, I give them the horns and the mustache immediately. I'm like, they're evil
Yeah.
people. Immediately. That's because that's my beliefs
Yeah.
that I'm perpetuating based on my own experience as well, or
Exactly.
how they're showing up. So thank you for that.